Alright guys, so this is the final video in the Face Saga, the major Playerz trilogy of beat 'em up topics. Yeah, I've been enjoying talking about these videos so far. Not that I wouldn't. But, you know, it's been interesting just kind of hearing his thought process as far as like what we should do with beat 'em ups and doing a respond video. Remember back in the day in YouTube where we used to get more of these reply videos? There used to be a feature for that. I don't think it's a feature anymore. People just kind of do them now, here and there. But anyway, this is the last one. This is where Face talks about the beat 'em up that I don't want to say it's canceled, but it's an indefinite hiatus. Maybe one day he'll get back to working on it. But yeah, let's hear about it.
What's good, Face in the building? So you've seen the thumbnail, the title, whatever. I've been holding this for a long while, since 2021. That's when the idea first came about. Now, before we get hopes up or whatever, yeah, quick disclaimer. This is, let's say, a on hold / failed project. Yeah, it's on hold / failed, right? Because obviously your boy is no developer. Yeah, your boy is no coder, your boy is no animator, your boy is just a guy with ideas. That's what your boy is. Yeah, you get me? So
I just want to say that there isn't typically anything wrong with this being in the position that he's in. I'm kind of there. Like, I know a little bit of coding. And obviously, if you know me, you've seen me do pixel art. I do a little bit of animation here and there. Not on the level that I think it takes to make a very quality game, though. Right? And this is typically just where it comes into building, just team building. The hardest part, I think, honestly, about game development will always be the financial aspect of it. If you're just not rolling in money like that, which, you know, most people aren't, we're going to have a tough time if you don't have these skills. So, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being an idea guy, right? But I think the problem with being an idea guy is that you have to have a good grasp on whatever it is that you're making, right? Whatever plans you got going, or like whatever you're trying to develop, you have to have a good idea about the genre, what you're building can do for that genre, among other things. You have to have a plan, right? And that is, I would say that is the second hardest part of everything, is the planning. Me, for example, Deadly Metropolis is something that I have planned for over a decade. And that has come with canceled versions of Deadly Metropolis. I would say maybe 2 or 3 of just going back to the drawing board and, alright, I need to plan this out. And yeah, right now, those are the 2 hurdles that I have always had to deal with when it came down to the project, is the financial aspect and the planning. The planning for me, like, I'm not going to say I got a 100% planned in my head. I do think over time things are going to get changed. Things are probably going to get cut. Well, things have been cut, actually. Be straight up. But yeah, you know, being the idea guy, you also have to kind of be the eyes on everything guy. You know, you can't just be the idea guy. There's nothing wrong with being the idea guy, but you have to be realistic about what your ideas are capable of. And having a team helps that a lot. You know, the team that I have built for Deadly Metropolis keeps me in check a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll come up with an idea and they'll say, well, let's focus on this first, right? Let's just try to focus on this first. Or they'll say, you know, maybe that could be a bit too ambitious. right? And I've learned, I've warned them when we started, like, hey, I have a very ambitious mind when it comes down to my project. But I'm also realistic in the fact that, hey, if I want to do those things, it's probably going to be a step-by-step thing. We may not get to certain aspects of the ideas that I have, but for the most part, I try to lay out everything that I'm thinking, when it comes down to that particular project. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being an idea guy, but you just have to realize that as a person who isn't in those skill sets, you have to know how to direct those skill sets, and that's something even I'm learning. Like, I'm not gonna BS and say that I got it all together, because I don't. Right? It just comes with the territory. You have to learn how to direct, among other things. And directors are very good positions, by the way. I want to say that there are a lot of directors and producers that do not have these skills, but they know how to direct. They know how to produce. Right? They know how to advertise their game. They know how to do all the bells and whistles that's going to actually sell the game. Right? The coding and the graphical aspect and all the other things are, like, I would say the coding, if you want to talk about like a sandwich or something, the coding and the graphics are like the two different primes of sandwich meat that you put on the sandwich. And then like the music and all the other stuff is like the toppings, the letters and all that stuff. But the direction and the producing is the bread that holds it all together. Right? So yeah, if you're an idea guy, learn how to produce. Learn how to direct. Be a director. Be a combat advisor. Be a combat designer. Then you have that in itself is a skill, and more people need to understand that. I think Face, I hope Face comes back to this at some point in time. But yeah, just learn how to do combat design. You test a lot of games, you play a lot of beat 'em ups. You have an idea of what you like and what you don't like in a beat 'em up. It's a good starting point. Be a combat designer, be a director. Idea guys evolve into directors and combat designers. They don't make the graphics, they don't code the game, but they are directing everything and making sure that everything goes well and everything's planned out properly, and that's a skill to have. It's a great skill to have. Oh, and also, it definitely, because you see with a lot of games that are like one-man army games, there's always a fault somewhere that could have been better fixed if they had somebody directing the game, or saying, hey, this particular thing doesn't work, we should probably do something else. I'm just saying.
So, cutting a long story short, 2 years ago, I decided that, I'm gonna go and develop a beat 'em up. Now, there wasn't really a plan. There was just an idea and some lore, and also a character. But let me start at the beginning. Now, my beat 'em up's name was going to be called Stack. Yeah? Stack meaning the name of the city you're fighting in. Just like a metro city or Wood Oak, whatever. And the main, let's say, mechanic of the game. Yeah? Which would be all about stacking combos. Right? Stacking combos to lead to more devastating attacks and all of that stuff. Quick brief over the lore of the game. The lore of the game was basically this. I wanted to make 4 characters which all had different backgrounds. Yeah? Which all were from Stack City. Now, Stack City, let's say I said it was ostracized from the world. Stack City had a big, massive dome around it. And all weapons were banned in Stack City, right? So no one could get in, no one could get out. City was massive, blah, 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 all of that jazz, and there were no weapons. And because in Stack City there were no weapons, everyone turned to martial arts. Now, we know how human beings can be. Everyone wants power, everyone wants to be ahead in the lead, wants to be strong, all of that jazz. When there is no weaponry, they're gonna turn to the next best thing, and that is martial arts. Now, where I was going with this was I wanted like different types of martial arts and combat fighting to represent different factions in Stack City. So let's just say there's an area in Stack City which only concentrates on boxing. The other area concentrated on Taekwondo. Those two are a beef because one's punches, one's kicks. The other area was a little bit more of a mixed martial arts, like a Bruce Lee type of style. And the other area was wrestling. Yeah, that was literally my idea of the lore of the game. Then I wanted to go deeper into, say, the 4 characters were ostracized, Stack City's a mess, and they want to go beat up everyone and beat up the mayor of Stack City or whatever to, you know, get some order back into the city. Yeah, basic plot, your basic beat 'em up plot, really. So this was the idea. Now, I'd been lucky enough to meet a guy named Len Jotsky over this journey of YouTube. If you
Actually, I want to, before he goes into that, like, I do want to talk on the idea. I do have some similar ideas with Deadly Metropolis. As you know, Neo Babylos is a city that's kind of built off of other pieces of the world. Just a little lore drop there. I like the idea of the stacking combos to do more devastating attacks. What it reminds me of is Killer Instinct, actually. And Killer Instinct has a meter. The new Killer Instinct, sorry. Killer Instinct 2013. Killer Instinct has a meter in which, like, the more you build on that meter with your combos and stuff like that, you have to do a variety of combos. Everybody builds too fast, the enemy or the other character will spin out if you do too many of the same attacks. But essentially, you build a meter, and the higher that meter gets before hitting a spin out or whatever, the higher the bars on that meter gets, the more devastating of an ender attack that you do. And I think the classic KIs have this as well, but I always liked that idea and always wanted to see that in a beat 'em up. Now, I'm not going to say and promise that would happen in Deadly Metropolis, but I'm just saying, if he were to actually to do that, I would suggest to go look at Killer Instinct, because Killer Instinct has a very similar system that I think would be great to beat him up. Yeah, I also like the lore, the lore of the separate factions and stuff. I'm not entirely sure about the weapon thing, but I mean, it sounds good. It sounds like a good idea in the sense that, like, he's doing different type of martial arts for the characters and stuff like that. Yeah, the idea sounds really good. I hope you revisit it.
You remember the old school skate campaign videos and stuff? Len Jotsky is the guy who designed the skate concept for me. Yeah, he was the guy who started it all off for me. So I approached him and said, you know what, bro, I want to make a game. Like, let's do it. Let's do something. Like, you could be main animator, all of that stuff. Let's do something. Obviously, nothing's for free. And I wasn't expecting it to be for free from Len Jotsky. He's an artist. He's got family to feed. Obviously, he's not going to be sitting there taking loads of time to do the game for nothing and hope for the best in the end.
So yeah, as I said, one of the toughest hurdles in development specifically, is money. But I will say, I will say, like, you can build a team that is willing to, I'm not going to say work for free, right? Because I don't think that's the right way to state that. But rather, like, you guys are working towards a goal. You have the idea, they have the talents and stuff, but you're working towards a goal of getting this game out. You guys are all very passionate about the game and stuff. And I think ultimately what you would do in that situation is you would take a split of the sales with each other, right? I don't want to say that that's what other companies do or indie companies do. I think obviously in most cases it is a thing of, like, yeah, these guys get paid to do what they do. But there are people out there that are willing to work on a project. You know, you guys just build a contract or something to that degree where you guys are going to split the sales and stuff like that. And, you know, you're just both really passionate about the project and you just want to continue building on the project. But like I said, monetary things, money and stuff is always the toughest part of indie development nowadays. Because nowadays, yeah, everybody's got bills and stuff. It's not like it used to be back in the 90s or whatever, before our time, where you had a bunch of friends just getting in their garage and just kind of BSing around until they made something and put it out, and it ended up being a hit or something. That doesn't happen anymore. You're putting a lot of time into this, and it could come out and not do all that well. So, but I do think it is possible, even though it may take way longer. Fight and Rage, for example, was an 8-year development process. I think there's a few other indie games that have taken a long time to develop, right? So if you want it done in a few years, yeah, you're gonna have to pay people, right? Because again, they got to put food on the table. But if you're in there for the long haul, and you guys think that you guys can sit through this for a good half a decade to maybe a decade working on it, and that's not, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying it in a bad light. Like I said, Fight and Rage itself was an 8-year project. That was a long project. I followed that project since it was small development things on Twitter and a little blog post. It was a long time before that game came out. But the developer felt it was worth it. And he's working on other stuff now. He's working on a new project, and he's even thinking about maybe possibly doing a sequel to Fight and Rage. So, yeah, even with this being, I don't want to say, I don't know if this is his first project, but if it is, with this being his first project, I would say, strike a deal with somebody. That you guys wanted to kind of just take your time with this, do it on your free time when you have free time. It's gonna take a lot longer, but if you had the patience for it and you guys are really into it, and you're willing to stick it through, I think you guys could make something. It's just a factor of time. Do you want to spend your time on this? Now, granted, Face could be rich tomorrow, right? And he just has the money, and he just drop that money on any programmer he wants and just make it happen, right? But there are alternatives. There are a lot of developers out there that just spend their years working on stuff on the side because it's a hobby for them, and then it turns into something that's something of a profit. It may not be like, oh, I'm going to get rich off this game kind of thing, but it's a turn of profit for all the time that they spent on it. And they enjoyed doing it along the way. So it's not, honestly, I think that's the thing that I like more about indie development versus being in the actual industry. Like, I've always wanted to create a game, but the more that I've seen of the gaming industry, the less I really wanted to be part of the gaming industry. Because when something that you love doing becomes a job, it is so much harder to, or at least for me anyway, it's just so much harder to stick it through when it becomes a job. One thing I'm enjoying about my project, even though it's going pretty slow at the moment, and I'd love for it to go faster, but I don't have the funds to make that happen, and I would much rather spend my time planning it out, just enjoying the time that I have messing around with it, and I'm still paying my team. I'm not gonna go into details of that, but I'm still paying my team, but it's not in the same sense of like a payroll thing, or a thing where it's like, well, we gotta pay it by this or that or whatever. It's more of flexible, like, hey, I don't necessarily have the budget, but I am going to, hey, you know, we are going to get through this. Let's not work on this until I can pay you this, or whatever. Like, you can work things out. It's just a matter of, like, if you're going to have the patience to wait it out. You know, that's the toughest part of, like, going in that direction where it's not a monetary thing for a while, is just trying to stick it out. But yeah, I'm just going on.
So at that time, I was paying him. I wasn't paying him like loads, but like he was getting paid. Do you know what I mean? At that time. And he came up with this character, the first character, which was the first one in my head. His name, I've called him Nikolai Briggs. Yeah, Nikolai Briggs. And he is a boxer. He literally boxes. That's all he does. Reminiscent of a Steve/Balrog, yeah, from Tekken, Street Fighter, all that stuff. He's literally a boxer, because obviously in this game I wanted like different types of combat and martial arts, or whatever you want to call it, to be represented. And he was the kind of poor boxer, the guy who got kicked out of boxing in his area of Stack City because he was too weak. Came back, trained up. He's the guy. You know what I mean? Like that usual plot stuff. Obviously, I would have got more deeper into the lore, but I didn't get there. And we started working on a few things. Like, this is him. This is his idle animation stuff. And obviously, what I wanted to do, as you stack the combo, I wanted it to be more visual. I wanted it to be like, yo, listen, like the combo's being stacked. Now he's got all around him. Now he can unleash some really, really devastating attacks because the combo is up there. We got to a point where we had an auto combo. This auto combo was being worked on. I think it's a 4 or 5 hit auto combo, which looked quite good. Lenjotsky animated it brilliantly. It looked wicked. And then obviously now you've got up the ante. The combo stacked now, so the auto combo, I wanted it to be visual as well. It was mad. It's very ambitious. It was a mad ambitious idea. At the time, I didn't know what I was thinking. You're not a dev face. You're not an animator. What the hell are you doing? All you're going to do is spend loads of money, and you may never see it come back in return.
Yeah, that goes into what I mentioned. You know, you gotta be willing to want to put the time into it that you're probably not going to get back, right? Time or even money that you may not get back. And that's the tough part. You know, a lot of people don't have that time or money to put into something like that. But also, I honestly don't think this was too ambitious. Like I like the idea of the effects getting like heavier as you do more combos. I think the best direction to go with this kind of idea, though, is to keep the combos pretty simple. Right? Like, don't go too far when it comes down to the combos. Like, give them a few alternates to kind of play around with a little bit, but don't go too far with it. And also, like, because I think Streets 4 actually does this masterfully. Like, I think they're really good at that with Streets 4. The combat is quite simple on the surface. These characters don't like have a million moves, but the way you string them together and how do you utilize them and stuff like that makes the difference. And I think if he had a system where you're stacking combos and you're getting more powerful and you're getting these abilities and stuff like that during that, I think just keeping it simple enough, but added little complexities that give the player the ability to alternate the combo in other ways would have done it. I don't think it would have been too ambitious from what he had going here. Also, I think I have access to these assets. I'm not sure. I remember him showing me this stuff some time ago.
So, like I said, we got to this part where everything, you know, was happening. Like, it was going on. Like, the idea was there. I had the concept in my mind of what the characters looked like. I started wanting to go over enemies and bosses and certain things like that. But life clearly gets in the way. And I couldn't keep spending money on this. I just couldn't. Like, first of all, family comes first, innit? You've got to always make sure you're doing your thing. Family comes first. So that literally stunted the idea from there. Like, I did get a stage mock-up. It wasn't an official, none of this was really official. It was just mainly mock-up of what the game kind of would look like. So I got a stage mocked up. I even tried to approach some people that I knew, like, in our community. I approached one guy in our community, big up him, he knows who he is, but he did say that I don't really have the time to be able to do this, to commit to this, which is fair enough, which is good that he actually said that, because it may have been a waste of time. Yeah, it just felt like a failed idea. Like, I approached someone on Fiverr just to see how things would look. So like I said before, I got a stage mock-up and I got him walking around a slight stage. Now, like I said, this is just rough guide, but this was kind of how I wanted the game to look in a way. And from there, the project just stopped. I just thought, Face, you not being a dev at least ain't gonna happen. Now, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I actually started thinking, all right, maybe I can do this dev thing. Maybe I can try it. Like, I started looking on courses online. I started looking at you know, like online tutorials and stuff. I picked up Unity, started messing around with little things on Unity and that, and then I realized this is not easy. This isn't just like, you know, I don't know if you lot remember an old school game back in the day called Music 2000, where they literally gave you a, like, you know, music software to make music. Like, that was easy. It's not like that. It's not like picking up Fruity Loops and putting in some beats. It's not like that at all. At all. You get me? This takes a lot of work and dedication. And even in that experience there, that obviously made me gain more respect for devs in general. Like, especially indie devs. Those guys, like solo one, small team, those guys really don't have it easy. Like, really just don't have it easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know why I wanted to do this video. I really just wanted to say it. Like, because the files came up on my computer. I was having a little computer clear out and I saw the files there and I was just like, raw, like, this could have been something. Like, it could have been something. Like, my 4 characters were planned. The lore was planned. Everything was kind of sorted. But funding. Funding something yourself, and especially not being in that development field. Myth.
Alright, so I guess closing thoughts. It's good that he's realistic about it. Like, let's just, and he even tried looking into actually doing development and realized, yeah, that's not his thing. Honestly, I was there too. Like I said, I know a little bit of coding, but I just don't, like, I don't see myself having the patience to do that. As compared to, like, when I'm doing art, like, I feel like the more I draw, the more into it I'm getting. Like, I can build a skill like that. And even with that, like, I don't know if I have the patience or even, like, the willpower to get on a level of, like, even the animator that I have for my project, right? Like, me and him, we take the characters and stuff, and actually I got 2 animators, but he's the character animator, so he's doing the main characters, which is a big run of the work. And then I've had other people do some base work for some enemy stuff. right? And I've done some base work myself for enemy types and stuff. And I think it's fun to have him send me like an animation, like D-Tag's animation, and then I do like details like the lion emblem on the back, the shirt details, small fixes here and there, the palette and stuff like that. So, I mean, I have a skill set that I use, but I wouldn't say that I'm the main artist for the project, because I'm not. I wouldn't even say I'm a secondary artist, because I'm not. And when it comes down to doing these projects, yes, you have to be very realistic about what comes first, what you're able to do, what you're capable of, if you have the staying power to see it through. Now, I personally think that Face may actually get to that point where he can come back to the project, hopefully. But it's understandable for him to be realistic about it, and just looking at it from a perspective of somebody who's also a family man. Like, yeah, things come up. You have a lot of things in your life that come up, and you just kind of have to prioritize those things more than anything else. And I think even with the guy he was saying that told him he wouldn't be able to dedicate all his time to it, I think that situation might have actually worked out for him if he's willing to wait it out. Because the way I'm currently going about it with my project is that, okay, let's get this character done first. He'll beat a bunch of stick figures for now. We don't have to do enemies yet. We do not have to do levels yet. Let's just get this character done. Right? And he's animated. He's not fully programmed yet. He's not fully animated yet, but he's getting there. He's really close. Right? And just on that alone, a lot of people have seen what he can do, like probably only half of what he can do. And that has brought up enough interest on its own. So if your project looks good, people are gonna show interest. I'm thinking about myself just going to Kickstarter, but there's a certain way I want to approach it. Otherwise, I would have already had a Kickstarter up. But I want to approach it a certain way. Like I want to actually have a playable demo for people to play the game and see what it is that we're trying to present to people. And honestly, I think Face, honestly, man, you were quite ahead, because I don't even, we have a test level now, right? But we didn't really have a stage, you know what I mean? Whereas he had stage graphics, I think in due time he would have had something, maybe get a few people to test it behind the scenes first, and work from there. But, that's not to, say, oh, Face, you better get back to it. No, it's... He knows his life better than anybody else. And, again, I know from my own experiences how tough it is to juggle these things. It's not easy. Development and directing a game and all this other stuff, it's not an easy thing to do. It's a very, very daunting task, and you just have to be willing to see it through if you can, if it's possible. But you also want to be realistic too. I think I do hope to see Face come back to it. I would like to see him put his hat in the ring. I'd love to help any way I can. Testing, maybe even directing the project. Again, I can't make any promises, but I'd love to even work with other developers and maybe doing some kind of cameo stuff in my own project. That'd be kind of nice to do. But yeah, I think this is out of the 3 videos that I've watched, is probably my favorite one, because I really like the kind of behind the scenes stuff of like, man, this game was canceled some time ago, and it could have been this and it could have been that. I've actually have my hands on a lot of things that have been canceled demos. I got demos of games that may or may not see the light of day. Stuff that I don't even know what to do with, because I don't want to put it out there and then the developers just kind of like, well, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like, in case they ever do want to release it, or they are still working on it. I don't know for sure. And I see so many of these projects they have promised. But I understand, like, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do at all. But yeah, like I said, I'd love to see if it's come back to this. Maybe go back to the drawing board. My suggestions to you, Face, if you ever want to go back to this, you have your lore, you have your 4 characters in mind, right? Start very, very slow. Don't even do animations, nothing. Start very slow. Get some concept art done. There's a lot of people that will do a concept art piece for, upwards to $100. Some do it a little bit cheaper than that. Just get some concepts out there. Maybe some concept sprites, or if you want to continue with that particular style that you already had, just slowly make conceptuals of the characters, right? Don't worry about enemies. Don't worry about levels. Right? Just plan out the characters, because, as I said, even using my project as an example, I'm still working on anime myself. I'm actually animating the enemies myself. I'm a very slow animator. I mean, what can you do, right? But like our main focus was getting D-Tag player ready, right? And that's not even going into like him using weapons or anything like that, just his core moveset, and showing people, hey, this is what you can do with the character. And then the step from there is to throw in some enemies so that you can show, hey, the enemies are going to do this and that, whatever. But the first thing that I absolutely started with, and this is something that after a number of times, just going back to the drawing board and stuff, I've done this a number of times. I do it every time I start a project. Concept, and just writing out a plan. What is it that I want to do with this? What I want to do with the combat system? What characters do I want to use? Like, what can I realistically do with the characters? Like, I'm not gonna say how many characters. I don't want to give that away. That's a secret, right? It's a high number. I'll just say that I want to do with Deadly Metropolis. But obviously, realistically speaking, just starting off with 3, right? Really, I was going to start off with 4. But the 4th character, I'm thinking about doing something more with. So, my realistic expectation is to start with 3. The powerhouse, the bounce character, and the speedster, right? Your typical tropes, right? And then expanding from there and whatever, right? But concept. Because even if we're talking Kickstarter and stuff, now I wouldn't recommend starting a Kickstarter with just a concept. It's not a good idea. It just isn't. But we have a lot of crowdfunding things too, as far as like funding and stuff goes. Like, find you a team that is make your plan first, right? Get some concepts and stuff going, because this is to me, from my experience, this is what's going to help you build a team better, is to have a concept first. Here's my characters. Here's what I want to do with the combat system. Is this possible? Can we do this? whatever, sit down, talk with a programmer, strike a, try to strike a deal with them. See if they're willing to do a cut of the profits or anything, like if you guys even get to a point of talking money, they may just be interested in the project by itself, and then you guys get to a certain point where you built something and you're like, okay, well, now let's talk money, because we might actually get funding, we might be able to do a successful Kickstarter. Let's do that. Just do it step by step, and you're a family man, I'm a family man myself. Like, don't rush. Just don't rush into it. If you really want to do this, it is something that you, I know you're passionate about beat 'em up, so I can already assume you're burning to do something like this. Just take it step by step. Go back to the drawing board, get your concepts going, gather some interest. You got a community as well, man. Like, that's going to be already a good step towards crowdfunding when you get to that point. But you can raise hype that way too. Like, there's a lot more groundwork that comes from the guy that isn't programming and doing art than most people realize. I mean, that's just being real about it. Programming and art is very extremely important. Never want to take away from those, but do understand that stuff does not carry a game on its own. There's a lot of groundwork that has to be done, and if you're willing to do that groundwork, I think you can get to a point of doing another project. Just don't be fearful of starting over, because sometimes you're just gonna have to. Anyway, that is the end of this 3-part series of Major Playerz beat 'em up related videos. Another beat 'em up chat done. Let me know if there's some other content creators that you'd like me to cover, maybe talk about their thoughts on the beat 'em up genre. I'd love to get my podcast going again, the Abari podcast. I did do some episodes that I need to upload to YouTube. I have them on my Twitch. They're just there, archived, ready for anybody to watch them. But I would love to go back to doing the Abari podcast again and talk with people like Face or Aria, and let's just shoot the shit and talk about beat 'em ups and talk about these things. I believe the Flying Kick is also starting up their own podcast as well. Let's just keep this discussion going, man. I like talking about this stuff. I'm very passionate about this genre. I used to be as passionate about fighting games, but I'm not good at fighting games. I'm just not. Like, I like the lore, I like the characters, I like their movesets, I like all that stuff. I'm just not really good at that stuff. Beat 'em ups are just where I'm at. I also like cooperative things rather than competitive, but that's a topic for another day. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching this. If you watched all 3 videos, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.